So in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 semi-automated businesses with the lowest failure rate, right? Lowest failure rate, they're semi-automated, easy to start. And I'll give you a way you can start, finding funding for these businesses, right? Even if you have the worst record on earth, you can actually find funding. I'm going to give you everything in detail. So let's dive right into the video. Hey and welcome to Mighty Success Blueprint. I'm really excited to have you here watching this video on such a beautiful day, wherever you are all over the world. Hey, I hope you're winning and I hope you're doing great. Right, so 5 semi-automated businesses that you can start, by yourself, right? You don't need too much labor. You don't need so much capital. Like, I'm going to show you a way in which you can actually fund these, right? And okay, so I have never started any of these businesses, but I'll tell you I've done good research on them. I'm being honest about this. I've not started any of these, right? And probably I'm looking into one of them or two of them, and I will let you know whenever I start on these, right? And why have I never done these? Because mostly I have tried to run away from the life out there and try to get onto a life where I can travel, I can live anywhere, I can work anywhere, which is the content on this channel basically if you've been here for some time. So if you haven't subscribed, then subscribe right now and click the notifications bell so you don't miss such content, right? So I tried to avoid before, businesses which kept me bound to a location because I love to travel. I like to feel free. I like to know that, hey, tomorrow I'll pack my bags and go to Spain. I love to live my life like that, right? But it doesn't help you if you have no starting point in digital business, right? In online business. Maybe you think affiliate marketing is quite difficult because, there's so much noise out there. I do understand, but there is a way you can get started, right? By looking into some of these 5 semi-automated businesses. They give you some form of room to move around. You can automate some of the processes and you can hire people to look after them. Low maintenance businesses I'm talking about. Let's dive right into this. So business number 1 is laundromats, right? Laundromats are the type of businesses that they have a very low failure rate. Now you've heard of this thing, 90% of businesses that start in a year fail. 90% is a huge number, and of those that stay, the 10%, it is also said that down the road, like 10 years down the road, almost 80% of those are wiped out as well. Who in the world is left, right? So when you look at a laundromat, it's easy to maintain, right? And I've done some research. I've looked behind most of these, right? I've done extensive research because normally starting up something or building something, so I've spent my life testing a lot of things. I've done quite a lot. So when it comes to laundromats, I've discovered that it's quite easy. You can automate most of the processes, right? And they're really, you can fund them easily. And I'll give you the reason at the end of this video if you watch it until the end. You can fund them easily. The good thing about laundromats is most of the machines are, user friendly, right? Somebody will come in, put their clothes in the machine and wash the clothes and of course dry them, right? So they are pretty straightforward. There is nothing too much to consider, right? And of course you have to have a camera. You have to consider the type of dough that you're using, I think, right? So it's pretty basic stuff, but it's really profitable when you think about it in the long run. Now, is it going to make you a millionaire or a billionaire? Maybe not, but hey, there's got to be a starting point. If you can automate part of these, then maybe you can do something else on the side, right? Maybe within 5 years you could have started all of these 5 ideas and they could be working for you. The good thing and the tricky part, or the most interesting part about this business of laundromats is basically, if you think about it, we will wash our clothes whether there's lockdowns, whether there is a depression, whatever it is, their people will be using the machine. So it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Business number 2 is basically rental property, right? So rental property is extremely amazing. Real estate. And you've heard of people say, well, 90% of millionaires got their wealth from real estate. That could be true, right? And it doesn't mean you can't get started. And one way I've found you can start, which is pretty much what everybody knows, is Airbnb, right? Everybody knows it, but not everybody knows that you can actually rent a property. You don't own it, but you can rent it, right? Rent it. Inform the landlord that, hey, I'm going to use this, I'm going to list this on Airbnb, and then, invite guests. Now, at the end of the month, you could collect twice as much as you pay for that house, which means you part with almost maybe 50. Let's say that the house is maybe $2,000. You could get 1,000 on top. It may not be life-changing money, but hey, if you consider maybe 2 houses, maybe 3 houses, 3 properties, maybe 4, that starts to add up. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, pretty easy to manage, right? And you can automate most of this stuff, right? You don't need to be at the house every day, right? So pretty easy. Business number 3 is self-storage. Now, this, of course, you need to be strategic with this, because when you look at busy cities, there is always no room. There is a house somewhere that's moving and they need storage. Somebody's coming into the city, they need storage. So that's where you come in, right? If you get self-storage, you can actually automate most of it, because you could have self-controlled systems. Somebody comes in and keys in the code, which they maybe purchased online, paid online, and received the code. They come and key in, and they receive a code to their door, so everything can pretty much be automated today. We all know that today systems are more advanced, so these kind of things used to be available for bigger companies, but today you can find most of these and use them as well, right? These systems, and they will be pretty cheap, I will be honest with you, because I've done some research. And if you're going into such a business, you definitely have to look at the location. Is very, very important. If you live within bigger cities like New York or London, or like cities, right, city centers, then a little bit of the outside will be cheaper for you to rent. And then maybe guys will be looking for you, people will be looking for you to of course you have to do some marketing, of course, everything has to do with marketing, right? So I'm talking about semi-automated businesses that don't require you to have like hands-on full-time, but they have the lowest failure rate. Now, why I talk about these is because this channel is basically about business, like online business, basically business that can allow you to live and work anywhere, right? Now, I created this video because I was doing this research. I was kind of interested in one of these business models, and hey, so let's look at number 4 is transport business, right? Now, when it comes to transport business, I was actually interested, and I know there is risk, when things crash, maybe your car crashes and all of that. And I was just thinking, you know what, if you go executive when it comes to cars, let's say you do car hire and you go executive, and I mean the high-end cars, right? You could receive about $1,000 per day in just hire, right? In just hire. And if you use platforms like Turo and all of the other things, of course the fees are a little bit, there is a lot of money that's taken by the company, and which I understand because they're doing all the marketing and all the work. But you could keep all of these commissions if you choose your niche well, right? Or maybe you want to do hire vans, or you want to, so generally when you look at transport business, it's it's really great, because when it comes to car rental, let's say you decide to go into car rental, you could actually automate most of it, right? Somebody comes and picks up the car, and they just have to probably to use their phone to open it. And I've done that. I've hired a car, I've hired a Mercedes, and I just had to just put in the code, right? Because I got it from online, from the platform called CarShare. So it's pretty important and to understand this and to consider the model, the niche that you're going into before you go into car rental business. And the last one is absolutely amazing. Something I found so fascinating is vending machines, right? Now, vending machines are pretty easy to set up, pretty easy, and I'm going to tell you how this can really work like crazy, right? You can niche it. You don't have to sell popcorn and all of these kind of things and have sweets inside, all of that. You could do that though, because people like sugar, right? People like all of these kind of foods that are unhealthy. And I'm not saying you sell them on that unhealthy stuff again, but if you're pretty much convinced like I do that, hey, you've got to eat well, then maybe you can niche into something that is, and it doesn't have to be so niche like for the certain people, but it can be something that is in high demand but doesn't violate your standards. But if you're pretty okay with sweets, you can sell sweets. And you could actually have drinks in there. Vending machines cover everything from cakes to whatever, right? You can have a law in there, right? And you could just sit back and, have this make money for you, right? Now, all of these 5 are semi-automated, but how do you get the funding? How do you get the money? Let's say you have a bad credit record and you have all of these kind of things. You've probably been bankrupt now. I'm not sure about bankruptcy, but hey, maybe you've been through the tough stuff like COVID-19 and you're looking for a quick start, something to kick you off, to get you started. One thing I recommend is equipment finance. Now, if you notice, or asset finance, do they call it asset finance or equipment finance? It's one of those. But if you look at most of these businesses, they're actually machines, right? They're either machines or equipment or assets. Or, to some extent, they're assets, right? So basically, there are companies that are willing to fund you, right? Because whenever that the machine or the equipment acts as the guarantee, right? So in other words, if you fail to make the payments, they will come and seize the machine, right? So it's pretty much straightforward. You can get funding, but hey, maybe don't consider getting seized because you will never start, right? Every business has a level of risk. So go into this. If you're going to go into this, of course, you're going to make calculated decisions. And I'm sure that you can make your way around this easily through proper research, right? So pretty much easy, right? With asset finance or whatever it is called, but you get what I mean. It's equipment finance, basically, whereby the equipment is actually what they are using as a guarantee, right? That you will pay back, and if they don't, you don't have to put in any assets of your own, or but I always recommend that you do this as a business. Don't do it as a person, do it as a business, right? So there you go, 5 semi-automated businesses with the lowest failure rate that I have so far found. Maybe there are more, and if there are more, I will share. And of course, hey, drop me some comments below. Let me know what else can we add to this list. What do you think about the list that I mentioned? Are you ready to start one of these? I am not a professional at any of these, I'm telling you, but hey, if you go ahead and do your research, then you can make this year one of the greatest years ever. I will see you in my next video. Bye.